Why do exchanges love freezing your crypto? I've had my funds frozen on some of the most popular crypto exchanges, and judging by the countless Reddit threads, I'm not the only one. To figure out why this keeps happening, I dug deep into how exchanges work behind the scenes, and what I found is that they use a 4-step system to determine which accounts get frozen. So in this video, I'm breaking down that 4-step system. I'm also going to show you the exact methods that I use to get my funds unlocked when it happened to me. Let's get into it. First, let's look at why your account could get flagged even if you think you've done nothing wrong. I found that there are 3 main reasons. The first reason comes down to regulations. Any reputable crypto exchange has to follow strict anti-money laundering and know your customer laws. Without them, they wouldn't be able to operate in these big markets like the US. These rules are meant to stop crime like money laundering and terrorist financing, but in reality, it really just makes using crypto exchanges a huge headache for average users like you and me. That said, if your account is missing any information tied to these laws, then it can get flagged. And it can be something as small as a misspelled name or an outdated ID or even a change of address. But even these tiny mistakes can have massive consequences, such as freezing your funds or locking your account. However, in most cases, you just have to send in some extra documents and then they unlock your account. But what if you've done everything right? You've completed KYC, you verified your identity, and your funds still get frozen. Well, that's where I found this second reason comes into play. I learned about this one the hard way. Well, technically my friend learned about it the hard way, but I was there when it happened. My friend had several $1,000s in crypto on his Coinbase account, and he had been using it for years without any issues. Until one day he went to sign in and his account was locked. Come to find out, someone had tried to access his account one too many times, so Coinbase decided to lock it. Now, in theory, this sounds great because it keeps hackers out, but in reality, it's one of the biggest complaints we hear from crypto users because they're often getting locked out of their accounts for security concerns like this. Because that means any unusual activity like logging in from a new location or from a new device could trigger the system to freeze your account. And the problem is, this kind of thing happens every single day, resulting in thousands of locked accounts, and maybe it wouldn't be so bad if crypto exchanges had helpful customer service, but most of them don't. And when my friend's account was locked, it wasn't just for a few days, it was dragged on for months after months, and he tried everything. He was on the phone with support, he was sending them all the documents they needed, he was doing selfies, and after all of that, they told him, "Sorry, due to the severity of the issue, we are not able to help you." And it wasn't until a full year later that he finally regained access to his account. But the worst part about this is that you can actually trigger this red flag yourself without even knowing it. For example, Coinbase has admitted that using a VPN can cause their system to flag your account. That's because a VPN changes your IP address, making it look like you're logging in from somewhere else. But that's not the only way you can set off their alarms. The third and really the biggest reason crypto exchanges lock your accounts and freeze your funds is because of their automated system. Every exchange uses bots to detect suspicious activity. The problem is, these bots are usually overly sensitive, and even the smallest thing can trigger them. Things like sending small transactions, moving large amounts of crypto after holding it for a while, or sending a big transfer from your cold wallet to the exchange. Sometimes the freeze will only last a few days while you submit documents, but it's not uncommon for some users to be locked out for months or even years like my friend was. And it doesn't stop there. If your transactions or the cryptocurrency in your transactions are linked to something suspicious like a scam or any illegal activities, this can also trigger a red flag. But why does this seem to happen so often? Why do so many people get their crypto frozen? Well, it comes down to how these bots work. Crypto exchanges process millions of transactions every single day. Manually reviewing them for suspicious activity would be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, and it would cost the exchange a fortune. So instead, exchanges opted for something way more efficient called AML bots, and these automated systems are designed to protect both the exchange and its users, but in the process, it often punishes the regular users. And the way these bots work is both fascinating and extremely frustrating. To make it simple, I broke it down into 4 clear steps to show how these bots determine which accounts to freeze. Step number 1 is real-time monitoring. From the moment you create your account on the exchange, something called KYT or Know Your Transactions starts tracking your every move. It scans every transaction going in and out of the exchange, and it doesn't just look at the amounts, it also looks at which wallet addresses you're interacting with, how often you transact, as well as geographic locations of certain wallet addresses. Think of the first step like a giant filter. If something looks unusual, it gets flagged and then pushed to step number 2, blockchain blockchain analysis. In this step, exchanges use blockchain analytics databases like Chainalysis to further review any flagged transactions. These databases review the entire transaction history tied to your wallet addresses, as well as any cryptocurrency that you own. They check your past activity, but they also check if any of your coins are tainted, meaning they could be linked to scams, the dark web market, or even sanctioned countries. And based on what it finds, the system assigns a risk score to your wallet address tied to your account. For example, Coinbase uses a 0 to 1 score. So on Coinbase, if your score is closer to 1, then your account is considered high risk and it is more likely to be flagged, versus if it scores a 0, then you're probably okay. But here's the thing, not every account flagged in step number 2 is actually breaking the rules, and that's why the system runs yet another check before deciding to freeze your account. And that's exactly why step number 3 is called false positive filtering. This step is meant to weed out any innocent activity that maybe just looks suspicious at first, according to what the exchange expects from your account. Maybe you sent a larger transaction than normal, or you used a different withdrawal address, or you signed in from a new device. So to avoid freezing innocent users' accounts, exchanges run extra checks in this step. They use things like pattern recognition, machine learning, threshold tests, and sometimes even manual reviews for high-value transactions to determine if the transaction is actually suspicious. On paper, this step is supposed to protect users, like all the steps are, but in reality, the system usually errs on the side of caution, causing more problems for users. So my theory is that most flagged transactions get stuck here in step number 3 in a long queue waiting for manual review, and that's why you see so many people with their funds frozen for months or even years in the worst cases. But for the rare transactions that make it past step number 3 because the system is almost certain that something illegal is going on, there's one last step, and trust me, you do not want to make it to this step. Step number 4 is called a SAR, or a Suspicious Activity Report, and this is actually a regulatory requirement. If your account ever makes it to this step, the exchange's compliance team has no choice but to file a suspicious activity report with regulators. Basically, it's treated like a crime scene. Every detail gets documented, your funds get frozen, and law enforcement will start investigating. The good news is most accounts never make it this far unless you're actually doing something illegal. That's why I'm convinced the system is overly sensitive and most of us get stuck in step number 3, and support is either too busy to deal with it or they just don't care. Probably a mix of both. But what do you actually do if an exchange freezes your funds or lock your account? Let's go through this step by step, starting with the easiest methods, moving up to more extreme methods if these other ones don't work. First, always try to understand why your account got flagged. Sometimes it's something really obvious like your ID expired and you need to upload a photo of your new one. If that's the case, the exchange will usually contact you for more information, and then all you have to do is upload any required documents. And this is kind of what happened to me on Kraken. I was trying to withdraw some funds to my bank account, and then about an hour later I got an email saying that my withdrawal had been frozen. But in that email they told me why it happened and how to fix it. In short, they were wondering if I had used that same bank account with another Kraken account, and I had, so all I had to do was verify some things and I was good to go. But unfortunately, it's not always that easy. If support keeps giving you the same copy-paste response, then you need to escalate the case yourself. They're not going to do it for you. When you escalate the case, just ask support to speak with the exchange's compliance team. They're the ones with the authority to freeze your account and unfreeze it. And if you have to, use every official channel that the exchange offers. Email support, live chat, phone call, social media. The more proactive you are, the more serious they're going to take you. But if that still doesn't work, there's one final option. And just to be clear, this is not legal advice, this is just what my friend did and it worked for him. After exhausting nearly every attempt for almost a year, my friend decided to send the compliance team a demand letter via email, also known as a letter of intent. And this letter basically says, if you don't fix the issue, I'm prepared to take legal action. Punk. A demand letter usually includes 4 things, and remember, I'm not a lawyer, this is just what my friend did. The first thing is what the problem is. Second, what you want them to do to fix it. Third, a deadline for them to respond. And fourth, what legal steps you will take if they don't respond. The key here is to keep it professional, not emotional. Ideally, you would have an attorney write it, but what my friend did is he just had ChatGPT write him one, and 3 days after sending it over to Coinbase, his account was unlocked. Now, I'm not saying this will work for everyone, but if you're desperate and the exchange is holding your funds hostage, this might be your last resort. That said, there are a few things you can try to avoid having your funds frozen in the first place, and the best way to do this is to basically make sure your account looks normal to the exchange. And the way you do that is by not suddenly dropping a huge deposit into an account that's been quiet for years, keep your KYC info up to date, avoid logging in with a VPN since that can trigger red flags, and if you're moving crypto to your exchange from your cold wallet, always start with a small test transaction, maybe a couple, and then send the full amount after that. But all of this just proves one thing. Centralized crypto exchanges are really no different from banks. They track your every move, and since they hold the keys used to access and manage your crypto, they ultimately control your crypto, which means they can freeze your funds and lock your account. So if you want to truly be your own bank, you need a self-custodial cold wallet so you own the keys, and that way no one can freeze your funds or lock your account because only you have control. Now, we still need to use exchanges to cash out crypto for fiat or to buy crypto with fiat, but the goal is to limit your exposure to these exchanges, and one way to do that is getting your crypto into a cold wallet that you control. Personally, I hold all of my crypto in cold wallets, and I only send it to exchanges when I'm ready to sell for fiat. For beginners, the two most secure cold wallets are Tangem and Ledger. Both give you full control of your crypto and protect it from malware and attacks that crypto exchanges are notorious for. I'll drop links and my full reviews to each one of these wallets down in the description if you're ready to get your crypto off exchanges and become your own bank. Of course, exchanges could still freeze your crypto when you send it from your cold wallet to the exchange, but in my experience, this is far less likely to happen if you follow all of the tips from this video. And here's something a lot of people don't even realize. You don't have to send your crypto straight to an exchange. You can buy, sell, and swap crypto directly from cold wallets like Tangem and Ledger. But just to be clear, cold wallets still use exchanges in the background to process these transactions, so you're still technically interacting with an exchange. It's just more of a seamless process because you're not sending it to the exchange first, you're doing it all from your cold wallet app. And when it comes to crypto, I personally like having more options than one. Also, if your goal is to just take profit but keep your profit in crypto, you can swap your crypto straight to a stablecoin, which is pegged to the price of the US dollar, directly in your cold wallet, and that way it never touches an exchange. Just beware, if you're new to cold wallets, there are a few things you need to know before using one. I've been testing and reviewing cold wallets for the past 5 years, and I share everything I know about them in this next video. I'll see you over there. God bless. Peace out.